Okay, welcome back, guys. Today we're talking about the person healed at the Pool of Bethesda. Jesus' next miracle. This is one I really like. This one. This is one of my top 50 miracles that Jesus performed. So we're gonna look at this, and we're in John now. Now, I kind of feel like it's hard to say like, oh, I like this gospel better than this gospel, because you don't want to put any of the gospels down, because that's where we get our knowledge about Jesus Christ. I like John. He tells a story, the other ones, which is great, because that's the only way we know some of these stories is because someone says Jesus was walking and two blind men came to him and Jesus went to their house and healed them, and then he walked to this other place. And so often I'm like, oh my gosh, like what do we not know? What's the other 99.9999% of the story? Like, you could probably have a whole movie based on this one event and it would be amazing. And we just know, like, we've got like 80 words on the whole thing. Anyway, so this one's in John. Haven't had a lot of miracles in John, but this one's in John, which I like because he shares more information. Thanks, John. So there's a pool. We're gonna skip a lot of this and just focus on the miracle part, which is all part of it. But so there's this pool called Bethesda. That's how I pronounce it. And again, I don't know how to pronounce any of the stuff in any of my videos. I'm just saying what I think it is. So if you've been to Israel or Jerusalem and you're like, that's not how you say it, you're probably right. I don't know how to say that. Anyway, so there was this pool, and a great. We're in John 5:3, 1 through it's like 15 or something, but we're on verse 3 now. In these lay a great multitude of impotent folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. Now it says impotent folk, and then it kind of describes what that is, but it sounds like anyone who has some challenge that inhibits them from performing like normally they should. There's something with them that's slowing them down. It mentions blind, withered. There's some physical or whatever it is slowing them down. So it tells more about it, verse 4. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then, after the troubling of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatsoever disease he had. Okay, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know, there's a lot of background here. I don't think we're getting an angel comes down. Today's terms, 2,000 years later, it's probably just a hot spring, a mineral spring, and every once in a while it bubbled up some. Maybe a mineral spring today is getting bubbled up by an angel. I don't know. But from what we know, that the angel, there's some heavenly intervention with the pool when it bubbles up. And then after it bubbles up, the first person in the pool is healed. That is cool. Sounds like the pool's been around for a while, and people have been waiting by this pool for a long time, which makes me think that there's something accurate to the story here, that hopping in the pool after it bubbles up can cure you. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if a lot of stranger things in the scriptures and in our real lives that God intervenes with is much stranger than an angel troubling up the water and then someone being healed. So if that's how it works, that's fantastic. That's pretty cool. Then everyone should be hanging out by the pool. And it sounds like everybody was hanging out by the pool, because it sounds like there was some truth to that. And now, you're doing a little research, you hear some people say, yeah, it was a mineral spring, or there was some vitamin or whatever, like when it was stirred up, it stirred up these minerals that had this healing effect and whatever. Maybe it was an angel stirring it up. I don't know. But Sounds like there was a bunch of people waiting by the pool to be healed, and that it probably worked because after a long time, people are still waiting by the pool to be healed, which is kind of cool. Verse 5, and a certain man was there which had an infirmity 38 years. Something, we talked about those physical challenges or mental challenges. I don't know what kind of challenges. 38 years. 38 years. That is a long freaking time, guys. I'm 48 years old. I know you thought I was like 28. No, I'm 48. I promise. I swear. So this would be since I was 10. I don't remember hardly anything from when I was 10. I was probably like 4th or 5th grade. I don't remember much at all from the time I was 10 years old. I don't know how old this person was, but it's been 38 years that this person's been suffering whatever this infirmity is. That is such a long time to be suffering. Verse 6, when Jesus saw him lie and knew what he had, and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he saith unto him, we're going to get to that in a second. Jesus sees this man, notices him, and then intervenes. Most other miracles, someone is approaching Jesus, or friends are approaching Jesus, someone else is doing something and coming to Jesus. Not now. Jesus notices someone and reaches out. Obviously, Jesus reaches out to lots of people in the scriptures. That's how he found all his apostles. A lot of people that follow Jesus are because Jesus reached out to them. But not a lot of miracles start with Jesus noticing the person and performing the miracle. People are coming to Jesus, asking in faith, and they're believing, and they're doubting not, and the other stuff we've talked about. Not now. Not now. Jesus just notices the man. So he notices a person, somehow knows that he's been there a long time. And Jesus said unto this person, wilt thou be made whole? I don't know if this person knows Jesus. I don't know anything about this. But Jesus goes up to him and asks that. 7, the impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me into the pool, but while I am coming, another steppeth down before me. This is so sad. So this person's been sitting by this pool, I don't know how long. Like, he's been sick 38 years. I don't know how long he's been by the pool. I don't know if the pool just bubbles up in the springtime, or I don't know. It's interesting. He says, I have no man when the water is troubled to put me in the pool. So it sounds like he's close to the pool. He can't travel well, so he kind of crawls, forces his way to the pool, and then when he gets to the pool, he'd be healed, but someone else always gets in there first. Sad. Which makes it seem like there might be other people there with a man to put them in there, or someone that's going to help them get into the pool. I'm guessing if this pool heals people, we know bajillions of people are following Jesus to be healed. There's probably a ton of people waiting to get into this pool to be healed, and it sounds like a bunch of them have someone with them waiting for it to bubble, and then they're like going to scoop up whoever's with them and put them in the pool to be healed. And I'm guessing it was pretty competitive. So it sounds like he probably was just watching the pool all day, waiting for it to be troubled and bubbled up, and he could never get there on time. Sad. 8, Jesus saith unto him, Rise, take up thy bed and walk. So immediately, Jesus says, Rise, take up your bed and walk. I like that Jesus' first question, wilt thou be made whole? His answer is, I'm trying to be made whole. I'm trying to get into the water. I'm taking the action. I've got faith in this process. I can't do it. And Jesus says, Rise, take up thy bed and walk. He's like, oh, get up. What? Can you imagine being this person? Like, are you sure? And immediately, I love that the miracles all are happening immediately. The man was made whole. Whatever that infirmity was, whatever disability it was, whatever was slowing him down, like that, immediately it was gone. He took up his bed and walked. Now, there's so many things I want to talk about and we won't talk about. Don't worry, it won't be that long. 38 years. I want to talk about that. That is forever. That is a long darn time to be sick, to have something that's like making your life so hard to live. 38 years. And he was healed immediately. Going backwards, at any time in that 38 years, Jesus could have healed him immediately. God could have healed him. He could have been healed immediately. So often I wonder, why did this person suffer 38 years? Why do some people suffer 22 years? Why do some people suffer minutes? What is it? Is it a challenge in our life to see how long it's going to take us to show faith and ask God and humble ourselves and say, okay, I need your help, God. I can't do this on my own. Heal me. Why is it sometimes we find answers in 2 minutes, in 2 years, in 38 years? Why is that? And I don't know if I have a good answer. But I feel strongly that the experiences we have in life are necessary for us to become more like our Heavenly Father, to become more like Jesus Christ. I think we have these experiences to become that person. So then, personally in my head, I'm like, okay, well, if he suffered 38 years, if he had been more humble, if he had been more believing, if he had done something better, like, would he have learned his lesson after 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? Could his illness been much more short-lived if he had humbled himself earlier and become the person that he's destined to be? I don't know. Or would that have mattered? I don't know. Pretty soon here, in the next couple chapters, there's a question about whether or not someone is suffering because of the sin of the person, the sins of the parents. Like, why is this person suffering this challenge? Whose fault is it? And I think so often, like, it's probably no one's fault. Maybe that's just part of life that we suffer. Maybe that's experience that personally we have to become someone else. Maybe it's something else. Maybe the Lord has something else. Maybe we're an inspiration to others. Maybe we're an inspiration for others to help us. Maybe we should be helping others. If we're helping others, then that means they're in a position that need help also. So there's all sorts of examples on that same spectrum of people needing help. And sometimes we're the one helping. Sometimes we're the one being lifted. Sometimes we're the person that our friends are putting us in the pool. Sometimes our friends are lowering us in the ceiling. Sometimes we're helping our friends do that. And I don't know. And I asked that question and I have no idea what the answer is. I think there's a lot of different answers. Also, I think so many times, but definitely not all the time, people experience these long-term illnesses, disease, addictions, whatever. They'll have this for so long and they'll beat it. And a lot of times they'll be like, I'm really grateful that happened to me. I'm really grateful I had that disease for so long because I learned to become more Christ-like. Without that, I would not have become the person I am today. And that's really hard to say, especially when you are going through that trial, especially if it lasts years and years. But not always. Sometimes I think it just destroys us, some of these challenges. So I don't know. I don't know why it was 38 years. And then he got healed. I don't know. If you know, let me know. Send me a message. I think you can message below. Obviously, I'm not that good at YouTube. I just slap these videos on there, and I should be putting cool links or something on the bottom or asking you to subscribe, But I just put this on here mostly for my own progress. Anyway, so I think it's fascinating. Jesus told him to rise, take his bed, and walk. Immediately he's healed, and he does this. And this, we've seen this before. What happens immediately? The Jews were mad that it was the Sabbath day. Not all of them, some. It is not lawful for thee to carry your bed on a Sunday. Sunday is a day of rest. You are not to carry your bed around. And he's probably like, I'm Jewish, but this person just healed me. For almost 4 decades, I've been ill, and this guy just healed me and told me to take my bed and walk. I'm taking my bed and walking. I'm going home. See you, fools. I think that's what happened. So what was skipped? 11. This person made me whole. He told me to take up my bed and walk. And they're like, oh, who is this person? And we'll skip through the Sabbath day stuff. People are mad. But Jesus saw him later. So it looks like the man departed. He talked with the people who were mad about him carrying his bed on a Sunday. And then Jesus found him again and said, behold, thou art made whole. That was his first question. The first thing he said to him, last thing he said to him right here, will you be made whole? Do you want to be made whole? And now he's whole. Then he says, sin no more, lest a worse thing come unto thee. Sin no more. So now we go from a physical healing. He's made whole physically. And then we switch immediately. Sin no more. Immediately we go to a spiritual aspect. Jesus imploring this person to not sin, to not use his freedom, his newfound health, his newfound life. He's got a new lease on life. And Jesus is telling him not to sin. Okay, you got someone who's born again. They just got healed by Jesus. They haven't been able to do so much their entire lives. Now they're healed. They're 100%. A new lease on life. They go hit it. You've got one bit of advice for that person. What would it be? Jesus says like 10-ish words to him. Sin no more, lest the worst thing come unto thee. That's his advice. That's all he says to him, which is so profound. I think it's the same for all of us. Like, go and sin no more. Sin no more. That's what he says. Because, as he said, I skipped, lest the worst thing come unto thee. So it's like he's saying, if you sin, with that sin, either this life or the next life or whatever, that spiritual destruction that follows that sin is going to be worse than what you've been dealing with the 38 years. That 38 years has been hell. If you go and sin, it's going to be worse than what you've already been through. Boom! Gosh, that's crazy. Worse than what you've already been through. It's so crazy. Anyway, I think that gives the importance of following Jesus, and I think that gives us the importance of not sinning. Not sinning is huge. If we do sin, we always have the opportunity to repent. Jesus always brings us back. We cannot sin our way out of the grace and the goodness of Jesus. He's always there for us. But it's sure a lot easier for us and our lives to take advantage of that grace from not sinning in the first place. Or if we do, immediately fix our way. It makes life a lot better that way. And I love it. I love this example, and I love this miracle. And again, if there's anything we can learn from these mini miracles that we are reviewing, is that we can have these same miracles in our life. Jesus can make us whole physically and spiritually. That's why he died for us, and that's why we're doing these. Thanks.